What's up, YouTube? Deadpool 2323 back at it with a new episode of a new series I'm starting called hunting. Comic book hunting tips. So a lot of people aren't fortunate enough to live in an area where they can go out and find comic books as easily as I do down here in Florida. We have multiple flea markets. We have probably 20 different comic shops in the Tampa Bay area. There's antique shops, garage sales. It just goes on and on and on. Pawn shops where I can go. I could literally go within a 1 hour to 1.5 hour drive. I could go to a different shop or place to buy comics every day of the month. I don't have that kind of time or that kind of pocketbook to be able to buy comics every day of the month. But, so I do all of my, 90% of my books I buy in the wild. So this series may be geared towards some novice comic book collectors who are just starting out, or it might be geared towards some people who aren't who do most of their buying online and want to start buying in the wild. Either way, I hope you enjoy it. So I do most of my hunting. I like to hunt the wild. If you don't know, the wild is actually going out. Whether you're going to a comic convention, whether you're going to a flea market, a pawn shop, a garage sale, not a garbage, but a garage sale. Anything out in the real world, not sitting in front of a computer going click, click, click. Anything like that, that's the wild. I do some online buying. I generally don't buy from eBay. I bought a few books from eBay over my lifetime. I'm never happy with the book I get, ever. So if I ever buy a book on eBay again, it's only going to be graded books. I'm never going to buy a raw book on eBay again because I'm never, ever, ever happy with it. But I also enjoy going out and finding the books. Whether, I'll use some, Craigslist, Let Go, Offer Up to find the books, to find the dealer, but then I go there. So I consider that the wild too. So this is going to be the first episode where I'm going to give tips on how to best put yourself in the position to get find the books, find the deals. I find a lot of good deals. I find a lot of great deals. I've been really lucky and fortunate. I believe karma is a big part of that. I believe that I try to treat the people I'm buying from well. There's been a couple cases where I maybe have screwed myself out of a deal by being honest with the seller. Like, you don't know what you got here. This book is worth a lot more than what you're selling it for. Those cases, I sought them out to buy their books. They didn't advertise them for sale. When someone advertises something for sale, it is not my job, I feel, to educate them on what they're selling. If I knock on their door or I ask them, hey, do you have, if it's, say somebody I know and they mention they have comic books and I say, hey, you want to sell your comic books? I'm not going to intentionally, that book's worth, $500. I'll give you $10 for it. I'm not trying to do that. And I'll give you a story. I bought my Hulk 181 off of a guy, and I paid $50 for it because that's what I could afford at the time. I didn't make as much money then as I make now, and I thought it was like about a 4.0. I was not good at grading. I was new into collecting. After really, I collected as a kid, but as an adult, I was new into collecting. And when I had asked my comic book shop, maybe a year prior, how much that book was worth, the lady at the comic book store said, well, the last one we had in here we sold for $500. So it just depends on condition, but the last one we had in here we sold for $500. I said, okay. So I assumed it was a lower grade book. So the book ended up coming back as 7.0. And I know, how do you mistake a 4.0 for a 7.0? Because I was horrible at grading. And thank you, ETA Nick, I'm getting better at grading. So the book ended up being worth about $1,000 at the time that I bought it. I offered to give him more money, but I'd already paid to get it graded, so I wasn't going to just give him the book because then I'd be out the $100 I paid on getting it graded, or so, somewhere in there, because I had it pressed and cleaned and stuff too. He wouldn't take any more money. I still gave him an additional $50. I felt like I should have given him another $200, but he wouldn't take the money. But I believe karma is a big part in how you interact with people and how you treat people. I just believe karma comes around. If you treat people well, you know, I just tend to have better luck, I guess. And I think it's a big part of it. That's me. That may not be you, and that's fine. Everybody has their own rules to this game, right? So I wanted to share that before I get into my hunting tips. Okay, call that my code of ethics in when I hunt. So my hunting tip for the day is a little bit of information is an extremely dangerous thing. If I show you this book, you're going to say, hey, that's the first appearance of the Guardians of the Galaxy. On a quick look, first appearance of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Marvel Superheroes 18, first appearance of the Guardians of the Galaxy, right? 25 cents in the corner. That's what the book cost. That's what it is. But if you take a closer look, Astonishing Tales, number 29. Still 25 cents. This is a reprint. I pulled this out of a dollar bin. So, if you put the two books side by side, if you watch these videos, when you're looking at these books, you're going to recognize, if you're going through dollar bins, you're going to recognize this book. And you're going to think, oh my God, this book's good. Take the time to look at it. Because if somebody had this book for sale for $10 in their store, because that's about what it's worth. I mean, at a dollar bin, you'd be fool not to buy it. But if somebody had this book for $10 in their store, you may think you're getting the first appearance of the Guardians of the Galaxy. You're not getting that book. You're getting that book. So, do yourself a favor and make sure you spend the time and put in the effort to learn as much about these books as possible. Another case in point. Now, this is a horrible grade. But again, if someone had this book in a high grade for $30, you would think that's a steal. Well, this book is not this book. This book's the original, worth well more than $30. And at $30, this book is a steal. This book, forget about condition, is worth about $5, maybe $10 as the reprint. But if for $30, you're way overpaying, and then you're going to think you have something you don't. And this one is a lot tougher to spot because other than the UPC, the only other thing difference is 35 cents instead of 30. Could be the Canadian price variant. But right here, you see where it says reprint. By the way, I paid $2 for this in a dollar bin, thinking I was getting the original one. If I'd have realized it was a reprint, I wouldn't have bought it because it's in such bad shape. And the last thing, so what I mean by a little bit of information can cost you a lot of money, that works two ways. It can cost you a lot of money because you have a little bit of information, you recognize the cover, but you don't realize that there's reprints, and so you buy the reprint at a higher price thinking it's an original. And so you end up having a book you can't get your money out of ever, and you don't have the book you want. Visually, it might still look good, and you may be happy. You can read the story, but you way overpaid for it. The other way that works is by you going through dollar bins and passing over books you don't realize are worth money because you didn't put in the research to find out what books are worth money. And I'll give you an example. I go on comicbookrealm.com, and I've said this before. I look at, say, the Sensational She-Hulk, and I look at what books. Every book in that run is $3, $3, $3, $3, $3. Oh, this book's worth $30. Why is it worth $30? I click on it. I see the picture. I look. I find out why it's worth the money, whether it's a first appearance, a classic cover by a classic artist, just a hot book people want for whatever reason, classic storyline, whatever the case may be. So when you find that in the dollar bin like I did, you know it's worth $30. Now, this is worth $30 because she's naked in this. And she's got the comic book code of approval covering her up. I don't honestly know. I've never opened the book to know if she's naked inside. But when I pulled this out of a dollar bin, nobody knew, you know. If I hadn't done my research, I'd have skipped right over this. And I said, oh, it's Sensational She-Hulk. There's no big first appearances in Sensational She-Hulk. No, this is worth some money. So take the time, put in the research. Y'all have downtime. Everybody has a phone. Get on your phones when you're sitting on the toilet. Whatever it is that you're doing that you find time to get on the toilet and do research. Take 10, 15 minutes a day. Put in the research. If you're going to be a successful hunter, you have to know what you're hunting. I don't really get into DC comics. But I know which ones are worth money. Because if I find them in the wild for a good price and I can flip them, I'm going to. After I show them in the video. But that's serious, guys. So that's my tip. Put in the research. A little bit of information costs you a lot of money. And have a good ethic when you're buying. Thanks for watching, guys.